The cat's in prison. Let's get back to the good stuff. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we're here with episode 4 of Batman, Caped Crusader. So, last time we had the weakest episode of the series so far, and I mean, for only 3 episodes, that's not saying a lot, but it was still good. It just was the weakest so far. The Catwoman stuff, it's not my favorite depiction of Catwoman, just personally. Again, not bad. Nothing about it was bad. It's just not my favorite. Though I did like the Harley stuff, the setups with Dr. Harley and Quinzel and everything. That was good. That I can get behind. So now we move on, and again, just like I've been saying, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what other villains we're getting. I don't know, what other kind of stories we're going to focus on. So far, each of these episodes have kind of been their own thing. There's been, maybe some very loose continuity. But for the most part, it's all just, set up right now. We're getting introduced to various rogues. We're getting introduced to kind of the concepts of what Batman is doing and everything in this version of Gotham, and how all of this comes together. I assume that once we reach the halfway point of the season, it's going to start connecting those dots, bringing back villains and stuff, more stuff from that point on. But we'll see. We'll see. I just hope we get more on the level of the first 2 episodes and less on the level of the third. That's just my big hope. Now, if you're watching this, if you hear any noises in the background, my neighbor is getting their roof done, or I guess redone. Getting some roof work done, and it seems to be getting completely replaced. So if you hear noises from outside, I think they have a generator or 2 running right now, that's what that is. So just giving you some warning in case you hear any of that. Not really anything I can help, obviously. But yeah, I think we're just going to get ahead with this episode and see what it has in store for us. So let's do so. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday, as well as Let's Plays. We currently alternate between Horizon Forbidden West and Baldur's Gate 3 every day, as well as have Nier Automata on Saturdays. And don't forget to follow the link in the description below to today's reaction. I do redirect all reactions just due to copyright. And on top of that, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content like this. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get to today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. That's more like it. That's back to that quality I expected from the first 2 episodes. This is definitely on par with those. Definitely better than episode 3 was, in my opinion. Episode 3, like I said, the weakest of the bunch so far, but this one definitely brought it back up. It's just, not every episode's going to be perfect. Not every episode's going to hit all the right beats for everyone. It's different people have different desires from a series like this. They have different things that they look forward to, different things they want out of it. And for me, episode 3 was just weaker than the others. Again, not bad, just weaker. But I want to talk real quick about Tom Kenny being Firebug. Because, when this was first coming out and everything, I don't remember if I said in the episode 1 reaction or if I said it, when I first announced that this was going to be taking this slot. Either way, I had mentioned that I had believed I heard Tom Kenny was coming back as the Penguin, because Tom Kenny had voiced the Penguin in a couple iterations. I think most notably is the series The Batman. You know, the one where Joker was voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. He was Penguin in that, but he was also, I believe, Penguin in the Batman versus TMNT movie, and I think a couple other things too. But I had thought I had heard that he was coming back as Penguin, and I was very clearly wrong because Penguin, you know, was gender bent in this and was voiced by Minnie Driver, who did a great job, of course. I'm thinking that I had just heard that he was going to be in this, and I assumed he was going to be Penguin. I had probably heard that Tom Kenny was announced to be in it, and so it's like, oh, Tom Kenny has voiced the Penguin in the past with Batman shows. He must be the Penguin again. I just assumed. No, instead, he's Firebug, and a couple other characters here. He's also Eel O'Brien and Joplin. I think those are maybe two of the cops. I just don't recognize, like, which ones offhand. But yeah, Firebug was Tom Kenny, which I would have never guessed just by listening. Tom Kenny, most of the time, is very goofy in his roles. And I'm not just talking SpongeBob. Even with other characters like the Ice King in Adventure Time, or even his role as the Penguin, he tends to be very goofy, very silly, very high energy and high cheese with his performances. I don't hear him too often in a very serious performance. And that's what we got here. Like Firefly in standard previous Batman iterations and whatnot, is usually seen as a very low-tier villain. I mean, he's just an arsonist, which is bad, but it's not like on the level of stuff that's done by like the Joker or Penguin or Mr. Freeze or any of them. They're seen as the big villains, while Firefly is a kind of a C-lister, I would say. Here they kind of reinvented him as, well, Firebug for one, but also being a lot more like scary and dangerous than he initially appears. Because when you first see him, like, out of costume and stuff, he's kind of this mousy little, like, loser looking guy. Doesn't look like he'd be, like, that big of trouble. But they make a very big point of telling us, both having Barbara mention it and everything, and Flass and Bullock even reiterating this, that he is actually much more dangerous than he comes across. And we see, once he suits up and starts, like, you know, looking at the kids playing in the street and the buildings around them and everything, it's like that one shot, like, seeing through his eyes, seeing the vision of all of those kids, like, on fire, along with everything around them. That is a genuinely fucking terrifying shot. Like, if you want to make a villain scary, have them be a legitimate threat to children. Because here's the thing, even if you're someone who finds children, like, maybe a little annoying because of, you know, constant bickering or screaming or misbehavior or whatnot, even if you're not, like, someone who wants to have kids personally, that doesn't mean you want to see children die. It's like, children dying, it's like there's just something in a lot of us, not necessarily all of us, but hopefully most of us, there's just something in us that the idea of a child dying just hurts much more than the idea of an adult dying. It's just this, like, visceral pain, because children, for the most part, are innocent. They're blameless. They're kids. They have their whole lives ahead of them. And for a child to have their life snuffed out is horrific. they haven't really had a chance to live yet, and to have that snuffed out, it's just so terrible. And so having like a literal like vision on screen of Firefly seeing like this dreamlike scenario for him, this is very much painted as something he wants and is actively excited about. To showcase him seeing in his mind all of these children burning to death is fucking horrifying. And then on top of it, it's like the dude is just like, he's beyond just a normal pyromaniac. He's so like obsessed to like a weird degree. Like he talks about in the car, like what is it that he says? Like when he's looking at the lighter, he's like, the flames need to be like felt or whatnot. Do you feel it? The flames are calling out for people or something like that. It's like this guy clearly has like extreme mental health issues that manifest as some kind of like obsession with the idea of fire specifically burning things. It's like an obsession specifically with the concept of fire like coming into contact with objects and flesh. And it's almost like this like almost religious fanaticism. Not like literally, because there's no indication that it has anything to do with like a cult like thing or whatnot. But it almost kind of reads that way still. It's this fanaticism with it, to where it's like, it's very clear that this dude's just not okay. This dude just needs not just counseling, not just psychiatric help. This guy honestly needs to be locked away from almost any human interaction. Because he's not safe for himself or others. But instead, Bullock just, fucking executes him. And of course, the media paints it differently. This guy gets the picture, and I'm thinking that it's going to be like, oh, Bullock is proven to be like this crooked cop because he just executed a person like this. I'm not even thinking of the fact that it's like, oh, wait, no, this was a bad guy. Firefly was a bad guy who was burning down this place, like putting children's lives at risk. It's like Bullock is absolutely being made to look like a hero here. That didn't even cross my mind, because it's like my mind was so focused on how fucking like evil Bullock's actions, and Flass of course, were in this episode, that it's like I could not see the photo that was taken there as anything less than damning to him, because I had a different perspective, and that's what I didn't take into account, the perspective. My perspective as a viewer, I'm seeing everything. I know all of the corruption. I know all of the horrific actions that Bullock and Flass took. The general public does not know this. Like, Gordon may know this, but the general public, the mayor, for example, does not know this. They're going to see this in the newspaper, and they're just going to see Bullock as a hero. Flass, too, by lesser extent, but Bullock's in the photo, They're going to be seen as heroes, and that's why the mayor put them in that position to lead the task force over Montoya. And, I mean, it doesn't help that Montoya's plans weren't working, and, this kind of technically almost did. Like, it's super fucked up. It's horrific. It's bad. But at the same time, it's like, that's Gotham. That is, like, so on point, though. But Jesus, the amount of things that they showed in this episode that would not have been allowed in the original animated series It's like they're really pushing the fact that this is on Prime, the fact that they can get away with a lot of shit that they could not get away with back in the day on the original animated series. They are pushing that envelope. It's like just the image of the kids on fire would not have been possible in the animated series. That would have been so just impossible to get on TV. And on top of that, just Bullock's execution of Firefly there. Or Firebug, rather. Like, I even kind of question if that would have, like, been allowed. That's, like, hardcore as fuck, and I don't know if the censors would have let that go. That I feel would be more possible than the children literally fucking, well, not literally, but in Firebug's mind, burning like that. That would have been a lot harder to get through censors, but still. It's wild, too, because Firebug was not, like, that, like, constant of a character. This episode was not about Firebug. Firebug was pretty literally a tool used by Flass and Bullock. They were the true villains of this episode, not Firebug. This episode was about the Gotham City Police. This episode gave a huge focus to Gordon. Gordon had a lot more of a focus in this. We got to see him working with Batman, which is something that we've been waiting for. We got to see him working with Montoya. We got to have him just talking with Montoya. We got the return of Harleen working with the police, which is great. I loved that. We got a little hint at Harleen and Renee being a thing, which it's like, I'm kind of into that for a number of reasons. One, they're both super queer, like I said in the reaction, so it works in that regard. Renee Montoya is a lesbian and Harley Quinn is bi, so it absolutely works. But also, it's like, I kind of dig the idea of them being together because of knowing the fact that Harleen is going to become Harley Quinn and become a villain in this. And on top of that, you have Renee, who is a very good, very straight-laced police detective who is on the right side, who is on the same side as Gordon in this. So it's like the idea of, like, kind of them being in love without Renee knowing that she's Harley Quinn, which I kind of wonder is, maybe she's going to go by a different name. Instead of Harley Quinn, maybe it's just going to be Harlequin. Because that'd be a little harder to connect, I feel. Not impossible, just harder. I don't know. I really want to see, like, if this relationship does actually happen. I would really be interested to see how they make that work. Because that could be wild. But I love seeing how the police are trying to catch Batman in this and how he's evading them because he just sees through their bullshit. It's like, that's just good. And the funniest part of the episode, the one that actually made me break into laughter, it's like, that had to be intentionally funny, right? Because if that was an accident, that's kind of gold. If they stumbled upon that joke without intending it, that's kind of wild and amazing. Like when Gordon, like, walks into the briefing room and Batman's just there, he turns around and they just stare at each other for a solid, like, 3-4 seconds before Gordon, like, drops the mug and freaks out and Batman just starts running. He just bolts. It is the funniest fucking thing. The timing on it. Comedy is about timing. It's extremely important to comedy. The timing on that was so fucking funny. The fact that they stared at each other for, again, like a solid 3-4 seconds or so is just, it's so fucking funny. And Gordon's initial reaction is dropping the mug. It's so good. It's so good. That is the funniest moment in this series so far. And for a series that's, like, mostly very serious. Like, having a random comedic shot like that, a random comedic scene, just kind of in the middle of that, is just, it's really good. And I think it was also a good idea, too, to have a little bit of levity in this episode, because otherwise this episode was really dark. Like, I think this is the darkest episode, so far, at least. It was super fucking dark and very scary, very intense. So having a little bit of levity in there, even if it's before a lot of the scary stuff really starts, it does allow you to go back to that and think about that, and kind of like cools you down a little bit, you know? Kind of keeps you from getting a little too stressed, because you think back to that little moment, and it kind of like just lightens the mood a bit. And Jesus, did this actually need it. So I'm really glad that they did that. I think it was just a really smart idea. But it also, again, it was just really fucking funny. But yeah, this episode really like focused in on the corruption of the police force, how Gordon and Renee are like two of the only reliable, trustworthy cops there. And like how the mayor and the city are kind of breathing down their throats to breathing down their necks. Why the fuck did I say breathing down their throat? I think I combined lines there. I think I combined things. Breathing down their necks to catch Batman. And it's putting so much stress on them. And in the end, Gordon made absolutely the right decision. By putting the safety of those children first, that was the right decision. And mind you, the mayor did acknowledge that. Which is why he kept Gordon on the case as well still. I'm actually wondering about something, though, with that entire aspect of things. I don't know a lot about, like, political power and how exactly that works. Would the mayor of a city have that much control over the police force? I actually genuinely don't know. If you can clear that up in the comments for me, I would really appreciate it. Would the mayor of the city be able to actually, really affect things? Like, yeah, the mayor could influence shit, obviously. But, like, could the mayor actually, affect how the police force is doing their job? Could the mayor, like, actually, for example, get Gordon fired outside of just, influencing it? Or is that what's kind of being said here? That he would use his influence to make sure Gordon got fired? Because the mayor doesn't run the police department, right? Clear this up for me in the comments. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that has built upon things we've already seen, but also is setting up more things for the future. This episode was really good. I'd say it's my second favorite. I still have to give all the credit to the Clayface episode. That was just absolutely amazing. But this would definitely be my second favorite out of the four so far. And again, the only one that I think was weaker in general was episode 3. But yeah, this was great. This was really great. Also, just as a note, I've been watching reactions to this, most notably from, as I watch along, it's like, I watch an episode, then I watch reactions to that same episode. Most notably from Omni Media. I've been watching his reactions to this, and he knows the names of the episodes beforehand. Because he mentioned, in the episode 3 one, he mentioned the name was like uh, Claw of the Catwoman or something like that. Something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I am so glad I don't look up episode titles when I get into these episodes. I'm so glad I don't, like, look that up, because it's like, that spoils that Catwoman's going to be in the episode. And I prefer not knowing that kind of stuff going in. Like, would the name of this episode... I don't know what the name of this episode is, but would that have spoiled that Firebug is in it? It might have. I'm actually kind of curious now. I can look that up real quick. I'm actually genuinely kind of curious now to see if it does. Also, I can get the actual title of episode 3 here. Okay, this should work. No, that is a completely different thing. Let's see here. Episodes. Okay, so episode 1 was called In Treacherous Waters. That doesn't tell you anything. That tells you that water's going to be involved. That doesn't tell you it's going to be Penguin. The second episode is And Be a Villain, with some ellipses before the word and. So it's like the end part of a quote, basically. It's even in quotation marks. That one does not tell you at all that it's going to be Clayface. There's nothing to hint at that, basically. Kiss of the Catwoman, not Claw. That's what it was. That one is just so blatant. It tells you it's Catwoman. You're about to get Catwoman. No surprises here. And this one was called The Night of the Hunters. Yeah, that one doesn't actually spoil anything either. Because, weirdly enough, when I think of that, I actually think of Marvel just because of the Spider-Man 2 game and Kraven and the Hunters. That's what I think of when I hear the Hunters now. Obviously, I know it's referring to the Gotham City PD, but also I want to check this real quick. So episode 1, the story was created by Jace Ritchie and Bruce Timm, with the teleplay by Jace Ritchie. In terms of writing credits. And Be a Villain was written by Greg Rucka. So Greg Rucka is so far behind my favorite episode. Kiss of the Catwoman was another one with a difference between story and teleplay. The story was by Ed Brubaker and Bruce Timm, with the teleplay by Adamama and Adan Ebo. I apologize if I got those names wrong, but Adama, not Edamama. Adama and Adane Ebo, something like that. Apologize for any mispronunciations, as always. But the Ebos did the teleplay. And this one was Ed Brubaker. Okay, so Ed Brubaker did 3 and 4, which is really interesting. One that I really loved and one that I thought was the weakest of the season so far. But Greg Rucka wrote my favorite so far. I want to see what else Greg Rucka has done. Greg Rucka is actually a comic writer. Did Wonder Woman comics, Elektra, Wolverine, The Punisher. Okay. So some pretty notable stuff there. Interesting. Okay. And then Ed Brubaker, who is very mixed in terms of what I thought so far, apparently did comics such as Batman, Catwoman, The Authority, Captain America, Daredevil, and Uncanny X-Men. And is best known for his long-standing collaboration with Sean Phillips with their Elseworlds one-shot Batman Gotham Noir. Okay, so he did Gotham Noir. I know of Gotham Noir. That was made into a movie, I believe. I believe. No, I'm thinking of Gotham by Gaslight. Sorry, wrong thing. So that's interesting. And then we know who Bruce Timm is. But yeah, so a little bit of look into that. So yeah, I'm not gonna look up what the title of the next one is. Maybe I'll look it up at the end next time as well, just to see if it would have spoiled anything. But I'm not gonna look it up ahead of time. But yeah, this was a good one. This was a really good one and a really scary one, like surprisingly. Also had probably the funniest moment of the series so far. So I guess it has that. Um, but tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Batman Caped Crusader? And thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.